Have you ever had a woman ask you something so simple it should have disappeared from your mind in seconds, but instead it lived there for days? Not because the question was complicated, not because it sounded rehearsed or romantic, it just landed differently. Like it found a place inside you that nobody had touched in a long time. Maybe she asked what you do on weekends. Maybe she asked how your day really went. But after that conversation ended, you caught yourself replaying her words, her timing, the way her eyes stayed on yours just a beat longer than they needed to. And somewhere deep down, a quiet voice kept whispering, "Was she trying to tell me something more?" If you have ever found yourself stuck in that loop, analyzing a conversation that seemed too small to matter, then stay with me, because what I am about to share might change the way you see everything. Here is what most men never realize. When a woman like Claire Morgan starts developing feelings for a man, she almost never experiences it as one dramatic lightning bolt moment. It builds slowly. She watches how he handles pressure. She listens to what makes his voice come alive. She notices how he treats people when there is absolutely nothing in it for him. She is absorbing so much more than most men ever suspect. And that is exactly why her growing feelings almost always show up first as questions, not confessions. Questions feel safe. A question lets Claire move closer to you without laying her heart completely bare. It lets her explore what she is feeling without risking the devastation of rejection right there in the open. And most men miss this entirely because they hear the words, but never feel the weight behind them. Picture this. Claire asks you, "Have you always been this way?" Or she says, "What were you like when you were younger?" On the surface, she is asking about your past. But underneath, she is doing something far more intimate. She is trying to understand your story. Not the highlight reel you show the world, but the real journey that made you who you are. When we do not care deeply about someone, we never wonder what shaped them. We never lie awake, curious about their childhood or their struggles. But when feelings enter the picture, suddenly every detail matters. Claire is not collecting facts. She is trying to connect the invisible dots of your life because something in her heart is telling her that you matter. A friend once told me about a woman he had known for almost a year. Nothing romantic had ever been said between them. Then one evening she looked at him and said, "You seem so steady now, but were you always like this?" He answered casually, talked about being shy as a kid, and moved on. Months later, after they started dating, she told him that single conversation was the moment everything shifted for her. Not because his story was impressive, but because for the first time, she saw the real human being behind the surface. And that is something many men underestimate. Claire is not drawn to your perfection. She is drawn to your truth. Then there is the question that catches men completely off guard. Claire looks at you and says, "So are you seeing anyone right now?" Maybe she phrases it differently. "How come someone like you is still single?" It sounds casual. It might even feel like small talk. But when this question appears alongside her consistent attention, her curiosity about your life and her habit of finding reasons to keep talking to you, something much deeper is happening. She is not just making conversation. She is quietly checking whether the door to your heart is open. That question carries both fear and hope inside it, because asking means she is willing to risk hearing an answer she might not want. And yet, she asks anyway. That tells you her curiosity has already grown stronger than her fear. But the question that reveals the most is often the one men hear and completely dismiss. Claire stops what she is doing, looks you in the eyes, and says, "How are you doing?" And she means it. Not the polite version people throw around while scrolling their phones. The real version where she waits and actually listens. This is where something quietly heartbreaking happens. Because so many men have gone so long without being truly seen that they have forgotten a difference between someone noticing them and someone understanding them. Being noticed feels pleasant. Being understood feels almost dangerous, because it requires you to be honest about who you really are beneath the strength and reliability you have spent years building. Claire is not interrogating you. She is not running a test. She is trying to know you. She is exploring a feeling she might not even fully understand yet, and that exploration looks like curiosity. One question, then another, Then a small detail she remembered from 3 weeks ago that you forgot you even mentioned. She is showing you exactly where her attention lives, and people always show you where their heart is pointing, long before they ever say the words out loud. So the next time a woman asks you something that feels just a little more personal than it needs to be, do not rush to label it. Just notice it. Notice the pattern. Notice how she stays interested. Notice the way she remembers your words. Because real feelings are almost never loud. They are quiet and persistent. They do not shout from rooftops. They just ask one more question and wait a little longer to hear what you have to say. And sometimes, that single quiet question from someone who genuinely cares is the moment that changes absolutely everything.